Hmm.
Hello, my guppies. It's your girl Tuna here. We're back with Shit's True, where we go over movies and the actual facts behind those true movies. Tonight, I'm joined by my good friend. What's your name, good friend?
Hey, I'm Scoot.
Okay, I've decided this week I wanted to do the Titanic because I was feeling romantic. And the Titanic's always been one of my favorite romantic movies. So we'll see how close James Camron got to the historical facts around the Titanic. Are you excited?
I'm excited because I realized that I actually really hate this movie.
Okay. See, I wanted to talk about that because rewatching it in your 30s after family and stuff, very different.
You knew each other 2 days.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to get to that. Okay, so like I said, we're going to talk about the movie itself first. So, of course, James Cameron made this in, oh shit, I didn't write it down. I want to say it was like 98.
Something like that. It was before 2000.
Yeah, and this was the highest grossing movie ever at that point. He hadn't beat himself out with Avatar yet.
Right.
And I will say he did an amazing job just visually with this movie. The way he rebuilt the ship and stuff. I prefer, he didn't rely on CGI too much. And it has helped the movie hold up, I think, visually. I mean, there was some parts where I was like, okay, that was a straight cartoon. But
right.
For the most part, the movie does hold up visually.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. So when we open up in the movie, first you open up to the historical of them waving the ship goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact about this, when my son saw that, he was like, oh, if only they really had cameras back then. And I was like, they did, bud. That's real. There are actual pictures of those people.
If only they had cameras back then. Oh my goodness.
So then it jumps to you're under the water submarine with the hot guy from Twister. I want to say his name.
Oh shit, he was in Twister.
He was, and I love Twister. Anyways.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
So they're in the submarine, they're digging around the Titanic, looking for a safe, get the safe, bring the safe out. The necklace is not in there. They're looking for a necklace. This is where we get to see boobies for the first time. Which is very exciting for me as a kid.
I'm glad you were focused on the movies, on the boobies, because I was writing notes the entire time. Here's my first 3 notes from the very beginning of the movie. The first one is, gosh, the ocean is scary. The second one is a quote from the Twister guy. It says, sad ruin to a great ship. And then I just wrote corny. That's what I was focused on, was damn, this dude's corny. And you were like, titties.
They're gonna pull out a picture. That whole part, I've always been like, just fast forward this. Like, and then they're rinsing off the picture, and I'm like, hello, Kate Winslet. So then it jumps to this getting on the news and stuff, and the old lady going, that's me, and calling, and they're like, this old lady's a fucking liar. There's no way. And you find out she's an actress and stuff. They bring her to the ship. They're going over all her old stuff. She says, I do love the line where she's looking at her picture and she goes, wasn't I a dish?
I know, that was cute.
Her character, she's very cute in the house. She's still very snooty.
Yeah, she still has that like edge of like, she still thinks she's better than everybody else.
I'm a lady.
Right.
Even though she left that life behind, is funny. She's very sassy pants.
Yeah.
Which I actually wrote down. She's 84 years and Rose is very sassy. Because they're like, are you ready to tell your story now, Rose? Which I find this, when you really think about it, like all they want to know is, where's this necklace? And she goes on a 2-day tangent about her first love.
They weren't listening to that.
Like, never talk about
that. Ain't real life.
Right.
That ain't real life.
Could you
real life treasure hunters would be like, do you know where it's at or not?
Can we hone it in? I don't know who Jack is. I need you to hone it in. when was the last time you saw the damn Netflix?
Ma'am, I'm pretty sure Jack never existed. Okay.
So that she's sitting down, she's like, it's been 84 years. And he's like, no, just try to remember anything you can. She goes, do you want to hear the story or not? And he has to be like,
My thing is like she was so ready to tell the story to these strangers. I'm like, I don't know, maybe I've been around B too much, but I was like, dog, can you imagine her writing a book about this story and how much fucking money her whole family could have made? But
I
no,
know.
she'd rather go to this
We're
random
never-
boat in the ocean and
I'm
tell
never
a bunch of
anyone.
strangers.
Right?
Nobody's gonna believe them.
And I feel like, and that's maybe inferring too much, I feel like her kids have to like be dead or gone for her to be taken care of by her granddaughter, who seems to be in her 30s. Like
Possibly
older.
or maybe
just
they're all
older
in like
people themselves.
homes.
But it's like your whole family died. And you're now going to be like, well, before I go, let me tell you guys the story.
I'd be so
of
mad
when I
at
got
grandma.
played.
I would be so mad. They're like, what
Right?
the fuck do you mean you never told anybody this?
I know. And then of course we'll get to the ending, but what she does at the ending, I'm like,
Oh my God, it makes me so angry.
Okay, so then flashback happens. We're now on the Titanic. People are boarding. They're doing the checks. And that's when you see Rose and her brigade pull up in their fancy cars because Rose is obviously very rich.
Yeah. And the queuing looks like a fucking nightmare during this period of time. Can you imagine trying to get anywhere?
Well,
that's the only thing I could think about when they were pulling up to the ship was like, this is my nightmare.
Oh, it was chaos. I was like, I don't know how anyone was finding anything. But I did love how they added the historical context of they were first class American passengers, so they just got right on. But right next to them, people were having to go through life checks and stuff. Yeah. And then even when Jack is getting on, they're like, did you do the checks? He's like, we don't have to. We're American.
Yeah,
like,
and he's the only one talking.
Yeah. I was like, oh, they're getting life checks because they're poor. And then I was like, oh no, because they're foreign and poor. Okay.
Right. Which is funny because they're on their way to America.
Well, that's why you have to get life checked. You leave that shit in Europe, okay?
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
All right. So I think James Cameron did do a very good job of filling in the background with all this historical context. Even though the main story of the Titanic is complete baloney, like no Rose or Jack ever existed, obviously.
Yeah.
What's happening around them was very accurate to what would have been happening at that time.
that time period.
You know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It adds to the scenery.
Yeah.
Then so Rose is getting on, you see the dogs are getting on, people are waving and stuff. We meet Jack over in a saloon.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing cards with his friend Fabrizio. I think he's Italian.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's Italian. 2
Swiss guys. And they bet the Titanic tickets. And they're putting out their hands. Nothing. And he's like, because I've got a full house. We're going to America.
Stupid.
It was amazing.
I
love it. I love that scene.
So stupid. I couldn't feel bad for them. I didn't feel bad for them at all. Like,
I didn't feel bad for the Swiss guys. That was really
stupid.
Fucking stupid. But I mean, 2 days later, they had to be going, whew.
Yeah, 2 days
later. You know?
Thank God.
I didn't deserve that punch. Like, you know, the one Spin probably looked at him and was like, you know what? I'm sorry I punched you, man. You saved our lives, you know?
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
But I do love the scene where he's like, we're going to America. And he's like, no, lads, Titanic goes to America.
Yeah, in like 5 minutes. Y'all
and he's all serious about it. And I was like, it's cheesy, but I like it a lot. Like, I really like that bartender. So then it goes into like a montage mode, pretty much showing you the boiler room, how hard they're working, all that setup. You know, you're meeting the captain, he's stirring his tea. Jack and Fabrizio are running around the deck. This is where you get the I'm king of the world scene.
Yeah.
We're all just feeling that. And this part is where the score of this movie, top tier.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Oh yeah. It's beautiful just to listen to.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. the montage.
It's not my
were
cup of
pretty
tea,
much.
but it's
Yeah.
nice. Like I can acknowledge that like not lyrically, but like the melody and stuff is really nice. I wouldn't just listen to that shit just on my own, but that's
maybe to fall asleep, but you know.
not even that. They wouldn't even put me to sleep, dog. No.
Yeah. You're just like
Yeah, I would just be laying there. Well, you knew this. I'm bipolar and I have hallucinations. So
oh
if
shit.
my brain, any kind of like white noise or just straight like music with no kind of lyric or anything, my brain tries to fill it in with shit.
Oh
So
my
if
god.
I'm listening to like that score and nothing else, my brain's gonna start making up voices.
To start
No.
singing to it.
And just start like, no, we're not having that.
So that makes sense. That totally
Yeah.
makes sense. So you must really hate like uber long montages. You have to be sitting there going,
I have to pay attention. As long as I can like see that something's happening, then that's what my brain is filling it in. But if I can't see anything, if I'm in like a dark room with like a white noise machine on, but my mind is going nuts. It is a nightmare. No.
That sounds like a nightmare. I'd be
Yeah.
terrified. So also during this montage, we meet Molly Brown. She gets on a ship. The whole time Rose is kind of narrating. She pops in with little narrations about how like the ship is unsinkable. When Molly Brown pops out, she's loud. She's very Texas.
I like her.
Yeah, Rose narrates, you know, she's new money. She had a gold mill or something like that. And she's like, mother didn't like her. Like,
no shit. That whole new money, old money thing always cracks me up.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's
like,
so silly.
Now I can't read my handwriting. Oh, I did write down. So, like I said, they're showing the captain and kind of like everybody walking around getting comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
They picked an actor who really did look a lot like the original captain.
Did he?
Yeah.
I've never seen a picture of him.
It really matched them out really well. And honestly, Molly Brown too.
That's what she looked like. That makes me happy.
Pretty close.
Yeah, that makes me happy. I like that a lot.
I mean, we're gonna go over this later, but she was a philanthropist in a women's rights movement. Like, she did a lot of shit.
Good for her.
Oh, okay. So after like the big stuff, the next scene you see where they're actually talking, all the rich people are around a table, like having tea. And this is where you meet Ishmael and Andrew. So Ishmael is like a half owner to the White Star. And so he was the one who came up with, because the other company the White Star goes against is building fast ships. He's the one who said, we need grand ships. We need the biggest, most opulent ship in the world. And then
that worked out well.
Yeah, Andrews is the guy who they hired to make that happen, pretty much. He was the designer.
Okay, all right. I know what you're talking about now. At first I was like, I did not pick up their names at all in the movie. Like
yeah, and they make Ishmael very weaselly. Like, he's very, and this is where Rose is like, have you heard of Freud? Because you got a small dick. Like, she says it way more fancy, but that was the joke. And I love that I didn't truly get that until I was older. Like,
when you're a kid, you're like,
talking about his
fucking
penis.
Freud.
Yeah, I'm like, shipping man.
I don't get it.
Very offended. So yeah, they make Andrews look like this very kind, graceful creator, and Ishmael's like this weaselly money guy with a very small ego.
Yeah,
a very
he's a
large
businessman.
Ego. Yeah. And then while Rose is insulting other rich guys, Jack is down in third class meeting this really hot Irish guy. And I'm going to be honest, it's probably just the accent. But when his character speaks, I'm like, hello?
Yeah, it's the accent.
More lines, please.
Yeah, it's the accent.
Yeah. So they're talking about, like, dogs are walking by. And this is the first time Jack sees Rose. He looks up and there she is, sun shining behind her, perfectly glowing angel. And he's just fucking staring. Like, that's his horror. People were even like, hello.
That's so uncomfortable.
Like, really weird to just be like, that's who I love right now. Stop all conversations. Like, That's not romantic.
No, that's weird. It's creep.
Right?
Every single time I've ever caught a guy staring at me like that, I'm so creeped out. I'm
It
like,
makes you immediately be like,
I do.
run
It makes me
away.
want to. It makes me want to be weird. It makes me want to like do weird shit, like start barking like a dog or like anything to make them be like, oh, never mind. Just kidding. Like,
You could tell Rose was the kind of girl because even she's like looking down and like she makes eye contact and she's like,
yeah. She's like,
bitch, keep staring.
all right,
Don't
weirdo.
lock at you.
Right.
And then her fiance comes up, who is also being portrayed as a Weasley man. Though I will say, so the first time I watched the movie when I was way younger, obviously, he always seemed Weasley. This watch through, I was like, I probably wouldn't have picked up those red flags until he hit me, you know?
Well, yeah.
The disgust I usually felt for his character this watch through until he actually was like, you sleeping with other dudes? I'm gonna pop you across this room. Then it was like, well, bud.
I think like if you put yourself like as a woman in that time period, that kind of behavior from men was just kind of expected. I think that they would be concerned if their significant other didn't act that way. And not to say that it's like appropriate, but I think that just back then, like the time frame, especially in upper society,
yeah,
I think that kind of attitude was it's just what you did. I mean, later on in the movie, your mom's even telling her like, yo, like just chill out and do this. What is wrong with you? Just do this. And then we're rich. And then you have a marriage.
Everything.
You have everything that you want. What's wrong with you?
I did forget. So when she's walking on the boat, she actually, and I was like, it felt very ick. And this is where the movie didn't age well for me. She's walking on the boat and she narrates, the Titanic was so grand, but to me, it was a slave ship and I was in shackles.
Yeah. And like, I know where you were going with it, but
I was like,
I just referring to that big of a ship when you're like a first class white lady and being like, this is a slave ship. Like, I know what feeling you're trying to convey, but
that's not it.
Yikes. That wasn't.
It was a very yikes. And it doesn't get much better because even as so now we're to the night she's at dinner and she's talking about, oh God, and this was the moment I was like, you sound so bratty. And I get it. But I almost want to say, because she's a woman written by men, I think it was like, you missed the mark. She's literally saying, I would be trapped in dinner parties and opulence and like just describing her life in such a positive way and then being like, other than to say, and mindless conversation. I got that. Nobody wants like to be the smartest person in the room and you're forced to talk about like dresses and shit. I get it, but like,
you know what I could have done with that situation in like, when was this, like the 1800s? Dog, I would have turned that shit 1912, whatever. I would have turned that shit on my head. I've been like, absolutely, I'm getting married to this rich idiot.
But that's why I was like,
I'm about to like
2023, Belinda probably would have been like, it looks pretty nice. I'm not gonna lie. Like
you have to find ways, I think. If you're in that kind of situation, find ways to like change it around. Like, I don't know, it's difficult because it's like, don't put yourself in a situation that you don't want to be in. If that's not the life that you want, then you shouldn't have that life. But to sit there and be like, oh my God, there's just so many diamonds,
right?
People are so boring. You're telling me you couldn't find one other person in a dinner party that knows who Freud is?
You have
to talk to him? You don't want to be poor. You didn't actually want that.
No. And even if you are sitting there going like, I can't fucking do this high society shit, then go downstairs. Go downstairs. Walk downstairs. Right. Nobody was blocking you. Like,
right. Right. You don't have
Go
to
get a
do
job.
it.
You haven't done anything.
Go sit in
You're
your
literally
room.
just complaining.
Yeah,
Like,
just go sit in your room and look at all of your priceless paintings that you
which I
brought onto
didn't.
the fucking boat.
I love the commentary when he was like, "What a Van Gogh something."
Yeah,
Pink painting.
Picasso. Picasso
Yeah,
is never gonna be
Picasso.
anyone.
And I was like, oh my God, to think of like, because he was alive. So yeah, to them, at that
Yeah.
point in time in history, his paintings were garbage.
Right.
Wasn't
You
until
know,
he
they
died.
weren't.
That just was a cool moment. I was like, huh.
That
Like,
just I mean, when you get to the end and she's telling you, Rose is telling you like what happened to that guy, it's just it kind of puts the pieces together from that very moment about the paintings, because obviously he was so wrong
oh yeah.
about so much shit, and like you were so wrong about Picasso.
Well, he was clearly like, he talked about being of like, I always win. I always play to win. I make my own moves. But he's clearly that quintessential born rich guy. Like,
Yeah, what
never
moves are you
you've
making?
never actually had to make any moves. The board was made for you.
You got a small loan
Like,
of $1 million.
exactly.
Shut
She's
up.
like, he inherited his money. Like, that money was always coming to you.
I
You've
wish I
always
could
had it,
inherit.
right? Like, that's where I was like, there you are. You're that guy. The guy who's like, doesn't understand his position in life.
I'm too conniving. I would have married him anyway, and I would have taken him for everything.
Absolutely. Especially if you're talking 1912, where a woman's opportunity was get married or die, pretty much. Like,
I would have convinced
of course
him.
I'd marry him, and I'd poison him slowly. Like,
or I would have convinced him that I needed a little hobby, like a little dress shop or something, and I would turn that shit out. Like, I would best dress shop in the fucking city. Like, that would have been me. But I would have taken him for everything that
that's
he
where
had.
I am. Like, and I really want to point this out, especially when they first pull up to the Titanic and Rose is like, it doesn't look that much bigger than the Carpathia. And he's like, oh, you could be blasé about some things, Rose. But like, I feel like in that moment, they did have a similar personality thing happening. Like, that they were a match if she would have just wanted that lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, like the bratty, snotty, upper
they were
class
both
woman.
brats.
They were both like that. Yeah. Rose gets on my fucking nerves.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
She gets on my nerves the whole fucking movie.
Yes. Okay. So
where
Rose
were we?
Is at this dinner, decides her life's not worth it, so she tries
to kill herself. I forgot. Yeah. She tries to kill herself.
She wants to kill herself. So she goes to the back of the boat. She's running. Very cute dress. Can I also say this? Rose was hitting every outfit. Like,
she was. Her outfits were nice.
The costuming in this movie. Beautiful.
Yeah, it was really nice.
So she's running.
I thought you were gonna say she was hitting all the old people, because she was also doing that while she was running through the deck. Every person. Jesus, you can't swerve. You don't have a little T-bow in you. You can't swerve at all.
Yeah. And I love how no one even really questioned it either. Like,
I know, they're just like,
running.
There's like this rich bitch again.
Right? Like, these old people would have been like, oh, my arm. And nobody would notice.
I would have flopped over and pretended like I was like dying.
So she's running back. She jumps over the railing. She's looking down. And this is where now Jack gets involved. And he tells her how cold that ice is and how he went ice fishing. He pretty much is distracting her with mindless.
He did a good job.
He did a really good job. He got her thinking on other things. So she decides to climb back over because he's in it now. If she goes, he goes.
But which is weird as fuck. Which is weird from him to be like, yeah, this random, really pretty, rich bitch, if she flies over the side of this boat and dies.
Words. Okay, let's get that straight. That was empty promises. If she was like, I don't care, and flew off, he'd be like, damn, didn't work.
I hope so. I don't know. Nobody in this movie makes any fucking sense.
So he goes to pull her back over. She slips. It's screaming. It alerts guards. They're running. By the time he pulls her over, he's on top of her. Her dress is kind of up, looks a bit sketchy. So the cops are like, get off of her. And they're going to arrest him.
They were so quick with that.
so quick, which I can appreciate. It did look sus. If you didn't know what's happening, all you're hearing is screaming, and you run up to a lady with a dress up and a dude on top of her, I probably would be like, get off of her now.
Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah, I might not have put
What-
him in handcuffs immediately like they did, but I definitely would have been like, hey,
Well,
yo.
What's crazy is, sure, they put him in handcuffs, and then they must have stood there while someone ran to the men's room to get
Yeah.
to come back to yell at him. How dare you touch my, like, we're all just standing there. And then I love this because someone had to go and do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did Rose not talk to the officers at all in that
Maybe
time?
they didn't listen to her.
Maybe
they didn't believe her.
And then he runs up, then he's threatening him. So he's already in Jack's face, just threatening him. And then Rose finally goes,
But she almost fumbled it.
darling. I was like, yeah, she had no intention of helping Jack at all until like she looked in his eyes and was like, I guess I'll help this sad sack, like. So then she stands up and she's like, I was trying to look at the propellers. And then I love the guy who's like, I always say woman and machinery don't mix.
Jesus Christ. Did
like,
she get hypnotized by the machinery? Like, what are you talking about?
That's what happens. You try to look at a machine, you're just gonna die.
You're just
You're gonna fall off ships.
Your uterus is gonna fall out of your body.
The moment you even have a question of the engineering, you're just like, oh,
you're done. You're done. Aneurysm. Immediate aneurysm. Jesus Christ.
He saved him. The husband, who I can't, Hockney?
I don't know. Dumbass.
Anyways, the fiance goes to give Jack a 20, pretty much. Like, thanks for saving her. And she's like, is that the going rate for the woman you're coming and he's like, oh, Rose is displeased. And
I don't know why, but that makes me want to throw up. And saying that makes me want to throw up.
And then so he walks up to Jack and he's like, do you want to have dinner with us? And Jack's like, sure. I felt this was very weird because even if you are crushing on this man, which essentially is what we're hinting at, but there was a spark there and you want to see him again, you want to do that at family dinner? Why won't you let him take the 20
with your fiance there?
Right. And then just like flirt with another man as you're making goo-goo eyes at another man.
I don't care how much Freud Rose reads. She is not smart.
She's young and dumb, she's sure.
So stupid. Reckless is what she is.
So then you jump to the next day and we see Ishmael and Captain Smith talking. And Ishmael's like, we need to make a spectacle. She needs to not be huge. She also needs to be fast. So go ahead and get that last engine going. And he's like, seems a bit fast for icebergs. And he's like, you're going to do this, pretty much. Like threatening him in a rich man way. And then so Smith's like, all right, we're going to do this.
You know what I don't understand about this whole thing? I was thinking about this the entire fucking movie. You have this huge boat. Obviously, somehow you have electricity, I'm assuming, coming from the coal. Like, they have electricity on the boat.
Yeah.
Nobody thought to put a fucking spotlight in front of where they were going while they're in ice water.
You know what? You may have just cracked the case. Just broke it all down.
You're wanting it to look so big and grand.
Add the lighthouse on the ship.
And nobody thought to put a light pointing outwards at them.
Nope. I never crossed their little minds. They were too busy being like, ooh, the chandelier works. And then
exactly. It's stupid. So yeah, but he's like, yeah, go as fast as possible. And the guy's like, if you say so.
Yeah. He's like, fuck, I do want to be super famous, so.
Right. That does sound nice.
But I don't know what I wrote down here. This is terrible. Then I said, oh, next they're at the Grand Stair. This is pretty much where you get more. This is where the movie gets really boring, in my opinion. And that's where my notes kind of went. Oh, we're at the Grand. He's going to dinner. Oh, this is spit. That's what I wrote. Spit, and it's disgusting. Okay, so Rose, you next find Rose and Jack walking in first class and just getting to know each other. She wants to thank him for saving her life and his discretion. And he's like poking the bear. He's annoying her, not treating her like a princess, and she's getting hot in the panties about it.
Right. Which I think is probably just that kind of man's flirting style. He's just gonna like poke at you, but it gets under her fucking skin.
Oh yeah. And I do feel like somehow Jack is very charming to me. Always has been, and his character remained the same. He is who he is. I feel like he just comes off very genuine. I'm gonna explore the world. I like you, I don't like you. Don't care if you're around me.
Yeah, there's no games.
Yeah, he just seems very genuine. Goes after what he wants in that moment and then keeps it pushing. He's very Sagittarius. So she then snatches his sketchbook, like, what are you, an artist or something? And she's like,
and then she opens up her titties.
You are an artist and you like naked women. So I got to see more boobs. Great. This is also where she's like, you like this woman, you painted her a lot. He's like, I just have a hand fetish. I really like hands.
Yeah, I just like hands.
Look at her beautiful hands. And then she goes, he's like, and we'd never sleep together because she's a one-legged prostitute. And this always confused me. Because one, why does that keep you from sleeping with somebody? Who cares if she's missing a leg?
And you really liked her hands. So
yeah,
where's the line?
Then I was like, am I just not understanding an adult joke that was made? And I still don't get the adult joke.
I think the adult joke was the fact that she was a sex worker and she only had, I think it's a very bad, very like one line.
This is
terrible joke.
I should have Googled first. But yeah, even to this day, I didn't understand when I was younger. I was like one-legged prostitute. I'm
okay.
Not issue. I feel like that's very ableist of you.
Yeah, I think that we would feel that, but I know that
her vagina still works.
Yeah, but I know that there's still people out there, even around our age or younger, that would be like, "Oh no, absolutely not." So like for them, I could get it. They would be like, "Oh man." For us, we're like, okay.
And even the way Rose is looking at the book, it's literally like, oh, like.
Yeah, okay, like it's such
dramatic.
A big deal.
Like what?
Get out of here.
Then, okay, I meant to Google this and I did not. He's like, she's walking down the grand, because the next scene is now, this movie does jump a lot. Very like, they're now at dinner. You see Jack. No, wait, we've missed something. Oh no, they go to spit together because she's like, I want to be like an American. I'm going to spit like a man. He's like, oh, you know how to spit? I hate this. I found this so disgusting. I hate spit.
I don't understand. How do you not know how to spit?
Well, that.
Did they brush their teeth?
Like, ew. And then I'm like, I love how he drags her from one crowded area to another
crowded area with the same kind of people.
Right. There was literally, I even feel like at the other spot, like there was people, but no one was really standing by the railing. They're all sitting in chairs, like reading and shit.
Yeah.
He ran her to a hallway pretty much where women were standing right there and then start spitting next to them. And like nobody was going to say anything.
And then her mom walks up.
Yes. And she looked at him like she wanted to squish him like a bug. And I was just like, oh, mom. Then they come to dinner. You see the grand staircase that was on the Titanic, and Jack's in a little suit because Molly Brown gave him her son's suit because she was like, after meeting the mom, she was like, you're a fucking idiot. Come here.
Yeah, you were so stupid.
You're so screwed right now. Come here. She gave him a jacket. They're now at dinner. He goes to shake the fiance and mother's hand. They walk by him like he does not even exist. Like straight ghost him. Then Rose comes down and he takes her hand like this and gives it the little kiss. And he's like, I saw that in a Nickelodeon once and I always wanted to do that. And I was like, Nickelodeon Studios? Like,
what?
He says, I saw that in a Nickelodeon one time. This is supposed to be 1912. Was Nickelodeon a comic strip type thing before it was just Nick Studios? Or is this
I'm about to find out.
We gotta Google this.
Hold on.
Okay, while she's Googling, I am going to keep going.
What did Jack say when he meant Nickelodeon? Nickelodeon was a small type of theater where you can watch movies that cost a nickel in the early 1900s.
Oh.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Well, that makes more fucking sense.
It does make sense. I was like with slime and everything.
Yeah, like what are you talking about?
So at dinner, you get to meet a lot. This is where they show you the rich people that really were on the ship.
Yes.
Astor, Guggenheim, a duchess,
Right.
like all the historical figures that were really there, and she's gossiping about them.
Right. Because of
And
course she's way better than they are.
because is this not the mindless chatter you hated so much? But yet that's
Right, and you're
thing you
gossiping
do
to the
with
new guy.
somebody as soon as they come. Let's gossip. I digress. I digress. They sit at dinner. Jack is trying to keep it cool. The mom immediately is like, "How's steerage?" Which I was like,
Right. Like,
"You make it
goddamn.
sound like he's sleeping with the boxes."
You didn't have to do that.
And then
He
goes,
knows where he's sleeping. You don't
Right?
have to remind him.
So then he's like, "Oh, it's the best I've ever seen. Hardly any rats." Historical fun fact: they were the best of third class. Like, you know,
They didn't have no rats?
It was third class, but it was nice third class, like of any other ship. Anyways, and then that's where she tries to. He gets them all laughing, and then she's like, "Is your lifestyle really something you want?" Like, just really throwing him under the bus. And that's when he goes on this long ass speech about how
I tuned out.
oh, I love just waking up and not knowing where I'm going. Yesterday I was sleeping under the bridge. Tonight I'm here with you good people. And they all toast to what he said and stuff. It was much longer than that. And it was just kind of like somebody would have stopped him. Like if
That
that
sounds
was
like a
real
nightmare.
life, that shit doesn't happen in real life. Like just
No.
as they just start speeching. Like
I don't know. Maybe it did back then. Who fucking
well,
knows?
that's
They're
true.
weird.
They didn't have TV and stuff. I guess people probably did talk a lot more.
Right.
Like,
No, his life sounds like an actual nightmare. Like that sounds terrifying, dude. Like
Right.
I don't know what you're bragging about. And I don't know why at some point in all of this, Rose was like, you know what? You know what I want to do? I want to sleep under a bridge. No, you don't. No, you don't.
And let's notice too, that bitch didn't help him at all.
Not at all.
It
She
was
didn't say
Molly
a
who
word.
was helping him through the dinner. She didn't say. I mean, she did well with the napkin. Why not just say, like, "Hey, Jack, want to sit next to me?" Like,
And they already think you're weird. Just be weird. Just start
Yeah.
saying shit. Just open your
oh
mouth.
yeah,
She didn't
why
help
don't
him
you
at
just
all.
stand up for this poor kid? You're the one who got his ass invited. He could have just taken his 20 and went. So they get
But
to
no.
the dinner. It's time for the men to go congratulate themselves on what great Americans they are, and the women just to have tea again, I guess. So Jack's like, "Oh, it's time for me to go." He hands her a little note, all sneaky. The mom cops it though. You see her look at him like,
Mhm.
And this is where they go to the funner party down, which I love the Irish jigs.
Mhm.
Super fun. I hate the beer scene. So I'm just like, no, she couldn't drink beer because she's probably never drank beer. Like, this is where I'm with her character where I'm like, pick a lane. Because you're really playing her more like the bratty rich girl who's never experienced, like, and even how she interacts with Jack, everything's very like, no, I can't. I want to, but I can't.
Right.
And then she's chugging beer. No, you wrote her as the girl who's never experienced anything. She wants to. She hates her life, but she's never done it. So no, she never chugged a beer. She wouldn't be able just to be down there downing the pint. Like,
Right. No. There's no way. There's no way. Absolutely not. I think a lot of that comes from the fact that like we're so used to movies being such long form now. Like they've always been the longer form of entertainment, but now movies that are like less than 2 hours are considered short.
yeah,
And like even this one was like 3 hours long, which is insanely long for the time period. But it wasn't, to me, it wasn't really written as if it was like, it wasn't written for the character development. Like there's not a
absolutely.
lot of character development for all
Absolutely.
of these people throughout the whole story. It just kind of hits out of nowhere where, like you said, she's all of a sudden like drinking beer, taking her shoes off, dancing on the thing, which like I get it. Like when you get out of a bad situation, like you can like let loose and go a little crazy. But
Oh,
like
yeah.
she wouldn't have known how to do
She would have fucked
any
up.
of this shit.
I love how so when Jack first is like, come dance with me, she's like, I don't know how to. But then gets up and tap dances.
Right. Then she gets
during
up
the
and
same
starts
dance.
slinging her feet around like.
Right. He's like, tap, tap, tap. And she's like, oh, I got you. How? You just said you don't know how to.
Right. What are you talking about? And all that one beer made you that
Yeah.
like confident. Get out of here.
That then I can
Get
go
out here.
stand just on my tippy toes, which very
That was
impressive
weird.
for whoever did do that. But I do feel like that no man, even back then, would have been like they were. Like they were like, oh,
Right.
Mary, Mother, and Joe. Like the poor people don't know what ballet is.
Or I would have just been like, okay. Like I would have been like, Jack,
you know, they
who
would
the
have been
fuck
like,
is this weird kid? Like
cool
who the fuck is this
story,
weird
bro.
girl?
Like,
right. Like
I hate how they wrote that because I'm like, one, poor people would have known what ballet is. They would see that and be like, oh, she's a dancer. Like
something.
They aren't that fucking out of touch. So I hate
Right.
that. Oh, she stood on her toes. Like, and then she's doing, oh, you think you're tough? So it's to the men. No man would have been like, whoa, that put me in my place. They'd be like, okay, dancer girl, see you later.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
she'd got roasted.
right?
Like just weird.
Never, it wouldn't have made sense. But while they're doing this, she's in Jack's arms, chuckling because they were dancing. And here comes fiance's bodyguard guy. He's like, oh, so now she's in trouble. Cut to next morning, they're on their fancy deck. He's like, oh, I thought you would have come and seen me last night. So I feel like this implies that they had slept together. Like,
possibly
I mean, just make out, but
possibly, or he could have assumed that she slept with Jack already and been like, oh, I would have thought you would have came to see me last night since you're so fucking loose that you're going and sleeping around. Maybe.
But
I don't know, but the whole thing is weird.
Yeah. So then that's where she's like, he said something and she's like, don't insult me. I'm your fiance. He goes, oh, yeah, you are. Throw the table. Get in her face, real shake her up. And like, as such, you will not fucking embarrass me. And I will say, abusive. Okay. It was abusive. Don't accept that from anyone. But when I was younger, I was very much like, oh, that bastard. But now that I'm older, I'm kind of like, yeah, abusive, but you did kind of cheat on the dude last night. Like you did.
You are like running around like crazy.
Terms, yeah, especially in 1912 terms, like you were in another man's arms while you were sleeping. So
you're like down with the poor people, like causing a ruckus and drinking
getting drunk and stuff, which a rich girl back then getting drunk is very like, no, we don't do that.
Well, in certain situations it was like, all right. But it was like with other rich people. Like you don't go out drinking with the riffraff on the bottom of the ship. So,
I totally get it. I mean, you shouldn't, but I get where the anger is coming from.
I get why he's mad.
Yeah.
So like you didn't have to do all that. That was
too much. But I do where I was younger and I was like, oh, that bastard has no reason to be mad. She didn't do anything. Now I'm older and I was like, I probably would question my husband too.
Yeah, I'd be mad as hell.
You were dancing with another woman and didn't tell me.
Right.
Like, absolutely. So then she's very frazzled. She's, I'm sorry, I gotta clean up the dishes. And this is also this boring part of the movie, bro. So then they're getting ready, and then they show you where her mom also goes after her. The mom found out about the situation. She's doing her corset, and this is where you find out Rose is actually poor. Her father gambled away all their money. All they have is the name. The name gets them in with this guy.
Right.
To stay rich, you need to marry this man, or we're out the street. And her mother's like, why are you being so selfish? Do you want to see me? Has to see me? I mean, she was really laying down that motherly guilt.
Right. Yeah.
And then Rose is like, I'm being selfish. And I was like, a little bit.
Yeah, just a little.
A little bit selfish.
You're also being stupid.
Have a right. Yeah. I say you don't have a right to choose your own life. You can, but you do need to admit that it is the selfish move to be like, sorry, mom, you get to live under a bridge now because I don't want to.
We're gonna be rich and live under bridges.
And what I love is because every time Rose even talks about like leaving, mom's not coming with her. she's
Right.
leaving. Like,
Right.
there's no me, my mom will come with you, Jack. No, I'm leaving. Meaning she is leaving her mom to
Right.
fucking fend for herself.
With only a name
As,
after her husband gambled
yeah,
away all their money.
exactly. And this bitch is like in her 60s. She's not getting remarried. Nobody's remarrying her.
No.
Like, yeah, you're screwing your poor old lady mom is gonna just be stuck, man, in fucking London. So
No, your
that,
mom is a bitch. Your mom is a
yes,
bitch. But yeah, you are gonna
definitely a
be
bitch.
leaving her. Like, so like, is it worth it? Where's your trauma level
I'm
at
just saying,
with
just be
her?
honest with yourself when you're
Right.
saying these things. You know, don't act
Yeah.
like you're all high and mighty, because you're not.
Right.
So then we see where Rose does kind of take a break. Like, Jack tries to see her in church. They're like, sir, get back to third class. You're not where you need to be. And he tries to give him money. He's like, I don't want your money. I want to see Rose, which is very bold. What were you gonna say? Even if the family did let you come, are you gonna look her fiance right in the face and go, I'm gonna steal this from you because we partied a little last night?
Yeah,
And
I want to know at what point did he decide, you know what, I will throw my entire future away. I could get locked up on the ship. This man could kill me. There are
yeah,
guns
I
on the
gotta
ship,
be with that girl.
but I gotta go with that one.
And I gotta go with the delusionalness of it too, because I will say it's not easy to completely step away from everything you've known. So I'll give Rose that much credit on why she can be a little wishy-washy. But to really thank Rose after you've known her 12 hours now, maybe 24
Right.
hours, is gonna, in front of the entire community, not just her family, the church, all the rich class people are there. You think you're gonna bust those doors and Rose and be like, yes, your bridge sounds amazing, and just run with you?
Yeah, let's
What are
go
you
back down to
doing?
third class right
Yeah.
now in front of
So
everyone.
yeah, it makes no sense. So then he leaves, and then they show Rose is taking a tour of the boat, and this is where they slip in the we don't got enough lifeboats little
Which
tidbit.
I don't understand why the guy was so like enamored with her. Why is everyone so enamored with Rose?
I
Like
will say that too. Like,
what is it?
Andrews does seem very like, you're the best thing that ever fucking happened to me. Also, Rose, like,
Right, you've
like
spoken
you're
like
the
four
daughter I never
sentences.
had. He is all about Rose, and you don't really know why. They just met each other at tea, also.
And you're letting her know like basically what are state secrets at this point, that there's not
I
enough fucking light bulbs.
right, but I will say, I feel like they used Andrews as the tool to make Rose the smart girl. You know, she doesn't like
Yeah.
the flippant talk. She wants to talk engineering with Andrews. You know, but she
Right, but then
only
like
seems half smart near Andrews. Near everybody else, she's childish and just running around.
yeah,
Like,
I mean, she knows like buzzwords.
yeah,
Like but like she doesn't, and we don't get a lot of information about like Rose's actual backstory. I think that that could have been beneficial as well if we would have learned
we,
like some throwaway lines where her mom was like,
yeah.
"Oh, I allowed you to have tutors until you were 18 or whatever. I
Well,
allowed you
we
to do
do know
something."
she does not go to college, and she's not
Right.
going to go to college. So she has to be only 18 anyways, right? Like, to even
Something
be
like
having
that.
that conversation of, will Rose go to college? Well, she's already married. She doesn't need to go to college. You know,
Right.
like,
Yeah, but there was
she's younger.
no
Yeah,
other
but other
little
than that, so
breadcrumbs about her life before this.
yeah,
Like, is she actually smart or is she just a fucking brat who sticks her nose
she's
in
a brat.
everything?
She's a brat whose parents were willing to let her have books, apparently.
Yeah, like that's it.
So then, like, the whole, it's a tour group happening, by the way.
Yep.
And as they're walking away, and Rose is like, there's not enough lifeboats. And they're like, the ship's unsinkable. Who cares? And Jack pulls her in. And he's like, I love you. I need to be with you, please. And she's like, I don't know. I can't, Jack. And it's very dramatic. And she runs away. And he's left sitting there like, "Ugh." And then I got bored again, and I had
Yeah, I
nothing
was
to
so
say.
bored through this
And
whole
this is
thing.
where I'm gonna go. What was the next jump?
I think the next somehow they wound up in
She's
her
at
stateroom.
dinner again. It winds up back to dinner, and
Yeah.
the room is getting loud on her, and she's feeling closed in again. And Oh, this is where the throwaway line where she's like, Rose doesn't need to go to college, and her wedding
Yep.
was such a snafu. They're talking about her wedding, and the room is closing in on her, and that's when you see her running back to Jack.
Right.
He's up at the bow of the ship, and which I love. They slipped this in where they're like, they said you'd be up here, so did you carry yourself down to third class and then come
Right.
up
And then
to
ask,
how long have you been
where's
searching
Jack?
for this man? Like, but this is where you get the iconic scene, the scene on the VHS and everything.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Rose arms out. I can fly, Jack. And then
It's
they make out, and
obnoxious,
it's obnoxious but very romantic. It is very.
if you say so.
So after that, they go to the stateroom, and this
Right.
is one of my favorite parts of the movie. More boobs.
Yep.
She comes out. I want you to paint me like one of your French girls, Jack, and blows it back. Great body. Hands him a nickel. Which
Yeah, pays him for it.
Right? I would have felt a little insulted, like, okay, a nickel, that's it. Especially when, so they're doing the painting, and she's like, oh, you're blushing. I bet Picasso doesn't blush, and he's like, he paints scenery.
Yeah,
That's a funny line. I do like, I like that they made that scene. Okay. So it was also at the boat. They're doing a lot of hand touching, right? When her arms are out. And then even in this scene, there's a lot of eye contact happening. She can't move because he's drawing her, right? I do think they built up the sexual tension very well in this movie.
They did.
With the little touches there, like, you can definitely see where you would fall in love in that moment too. Like, oh, we fucking tonight. Like,
yeah, eventually. You know? The whole time I'm watching that scene, the whole time I'm watching it, the only thing running through my head is I'm too autistic for this. Because, like, I can't imagine somebody, like, drawing me totally naked. I'm supposed to just, like, lay there totally still so that they can physically draw me while I'm laying there. And then when he looks at her and he goes, what does he say? I wrote it down. I took notes because I was like, I can't. I would lose my mind.
You have to take notes.
He says, eyes on me. And, like, my entire body was like, no, thank you. You're gonna, I'm eyes closed. Forehead? Draw me like a dead person. Like, I can't. No. Yeah,
oh my
no. Neck down. Like, I can't.
No, my picture would come out terrible because I also could not just lay there like that. Like, I can't deal with that kind of vulnerability. I'd be cracking jokes the whole time. I can't.
Yeah, I can't. I would fart or something.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible.
I'd start wiggling. My foot would be shaking. Like, it would just be craziness. Stimming but I couldn't feel the sexual tension.
Yeah, the sexual tension is there. I am just too autistic to allow it.
You just know that's only happening in movies, though.
Absolutely, absolutely not. There's no way in real life. Absolutely not.
Ever tried to recreate that? It's gone terribly wrong, and I know it.
It's creepy. It's creepy in real life.
Yeah,
that's so creepy. No, I don't know if you ever watched The Crown. It's actually really good.
Like the first episode.
It was really good, but there's a scene with Princess. Multiple scenes with Princess Margaret, and she ends up married to this artist guy who takes pictures, and they have like a picture scene like that where he's taking pictures of her, and the same thing. It was like, if this was anybody else, this would be creep central. Like, this is literally like an abduction case waiting to happen in this day and age. Of like, let me just take pictures of you, this guy you just met.
How is that?
You're out of your mind.
Yeah,
you're out of your
mind. That's a danger. I'm pretty sure you're taught as kids, don't trust those guys.
Yeah, that's a red flag. That's a red flag.
Take you to a hotel room and you will never be seen again.
And you will never have your liver again either. They'll find pieces of you.
So next scene, Rose is getting dressed. Jack's over at the safe. She gives Jack the necklace, which we totally forgot to mention. She got the big ass necklace, the heart of the ocean or whatever.
Oh yeah, her husband was holding on to it.
Yeah, he gave it to her.
Gave it to her.
She
yeah,
took it out of the safe to put it on, and she wanted to be drawn in this and only this. So he drew it. She gives him the necklace to put back in the safe. So he's doing that, and even he's staring at the safe. and there's just a stack of cash.
There's so much money in there.
And
Like,
he's just staring at it like,
bro,
wow.
they won't
Which
miss
made me
one
feel like,
thing.
but you handed this bitch a nickel. You handed this bitch a nickel when a stack of cash was there. And then I love this part. So she takes the picture, she goes to the safe, she's writing him a note of like, bye, bitch, enjoy your picture. And because she doesn't plan on coming back.
Right.
The goon shows up. They rush into another room to go out the exit. This is where
it's just a Scooby-Doo montage.
Yes, a very cute little, he's running, they're going down elevators, she's flicking him off.
Right.
They're like, ooh, he seems like a cop. She's like, he was a cop. He's coming back. They end up running through the boiler room, and you get this great contrast of her like gown flowing through
it was nice
room, which was really pretty. I love that part. Then they finally make it to steerage. Where they get into the car, and stuff happens, obviously
magic happens, I guess.
Wink. She's like, take
this is a weird option for the car,
and pulls him in.
A weird option.
I'd be mad as that car owner. Come back.
Well, I mean, it's not like they got it back.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not like they ever knew.
If it had made it, they would have known.
Sat down and been like, Robert, why does our carriage smell like pussy? Like,
so handle.
Oh my God, B just scared the crap out of me. He came upstairs like quiet as a mouse and started making fun of my laugh.
The kids get me all the time. They'll like open this door behind me, and I'm like.
Everyone in this house moves like they're like on their tiptoes. They scare me every 5 minutes. Somebody is scaring the shit out of me. Anyway, yes. So the car.
So then the car, handle and window scene. Okay, so this is where young me was like, oh, they just got it. But adult me is like, okay. So Jack is trembling. Jack just had the best nut of his life. Like, clearly. He's just like, yeah, right? And Rose seems very composed. And you can say this was character, but to me, Rose did not get her O.
Well, back in the early 1900s,
I'm just saying, Jack did not deliver. There's no way that woman had an orgasm, especially for the first time.
Does she even know what one is?
Oh, did you enjoy?
Yeah.
And then I felt it was weird. I didn't like that personally. And maybe that's the sub in me, where he laid on her chest and she's like, I was like,
yeah, that's not me either.
Mommy baby. And I don't
that's like me either. No.
Yeah. But
not for me.
It immediately made me be like, yeah, she didn't climax at all.
No.
That felt like a 2 pump chump kind of action right there.
No, there's no way she did.
So while that's happening, you jump up. Fiance is finding out that she ran away with him. He's in the safe. He finds the picture. He's like, and the one guy's like, we can fucking kill him. And he's like,
yeah, immediately. What did I say before?
I can kill him.
You're gonna get dead, is what you're gonna get.
He's like, I got something better for him. While all this is happening, so people are searching for Rose. You don't know what the better is just yet. They're running from the people searching from them for the car. So they come out on the deck. They then show the dudes in the bird's nest. And they're like, oh, it's so cold. And he's like, I can smell ice. And he's like, shut the fuck up. While that's happening, they kind of scan down to the first mate and his second. And they're like, did you ever find the binoculars? And he's like, no, we never found the binoculars. So now you're setting up. They can't see the icebergs. They don't have binoculars.
And again, they have no fucking fog light.
Nobody thought to make a spotlight, even though those definitely existed back then. So they see the iceberg right ahead. Ding, ding, ding. Turn the board. They show the room. All the engines need to go in reverse and get the ship to turn. As it's turning, obviously too fucking late. Bump, 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 up the side. You see that happen. Ship shaking, ice falling. Jack and Rose are right by the iceberg.
Yep.
So now you're getting into where like they're kind of like, what the fuck's happening? You're seeing Ishmael and Andrews running around with their maps as people are like, what's happening? And the waiters and stuff are like, it's nothing. A propeller flew off, which I'd still be like, what do you mean a propeller?
Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about?
Get there? How is that comforting? You know why? Because she stayed away from machinery. She don't know what the fuck that means.
Listen, at the end, when B came in this movie, I told him, I said, listen. I do not want to ever be involved in a major catastrophe with other people because other people are so stupid. Like,
So bad.
and I don't know if it was just because it was like, the 19 or early 1900s or what, but everyone from here on out through this movie, nobody thinks.
Oh
Nobody
no,
thinks.
pure panic sets in,
It's
right?
just panic, pure panic.
Yeah.
Like nobody thinks about anything. So like if
Oh
I
yeah.
had been a person on that ship and you were like, "Oh yeah, propeller fell off," I'd be like, "How many of them are there?"
Right? Like, so we're gonna do circles now? What do you mean a
Yeah, what
propeller
do you mean a
fell off?
propeller fell off?
So,
But they're like, "Oh, okay, we'll be back. We'll
yeah,
get some tea. We'll be
right.
fine."
Then she's like, oh, okay, I'll go to bed now. So you see where Smith and all of them are kind of like, what are we doing? We need to close down the bulkheads. Oh, so this is where you kind of see your first deaths happen if you know what's
Right.
happening. You see all the dudes in the coal room trying to get under those bulkheads because they're shutting down and they will not
Right.
reopen. Anyone
Right.
trapped inside, you're fucking drowning. Sorry.
Right.
You see that happen. You see the cargo blast open with water. So the dudes who were searching for Jack and Rose, totally fucking dead.
Right.
And they're up in the, he's like, we're just gonna shut them. It's fine. We'll go. Ishmael's like, we're going to bed. And Andrew's like, no, we're not going to fucking bed. We can only 4 compartments can flood, 5 flooded. We're foundering, guys. Get your life jackets because we're all gonna fucking die. And that's when it has that serious moment of like, dun, 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 and
Yeah,
like
of people realizing like, "Oh shit."
yeah, we're
like,
fucked.
yeah,
So
we're really fucked.
as they're coming down the stairs, Ishmael and them are like talking about that, like, we need to get life jackets, we need to start the boats. And Jack and Rose are like, ooh, it's getting serious. And this is where they decide, I know I just told those guys fuck off, but maybe we should go warn them, right?
Right.
Like, okay, so Jack and Rose decide to go save everyone else, and they go back up to the stateroom. When they're walking up there, Hinchman's in the hallway going, we were looking for you, miss. And he gets in real close to Jack and he slides the necklace into his pocket.
Right.
And then that's when it breaks that they accuse Jack of stealing the necklace and they had the cops there ready. So they arrest Jack. And does Rose stand up for him? By her man? Fuck no, she doesn't. No, she does not. She believes that he stole the necklace. So they let him, whatever. He goes away to jail.
To jail, which is just tied
Just
to a
down
pipe in the
low.
bottom of the thing.
Yeah, as the ship's sinking.
Right.
Nobody
But they didn't even tell anyone yet.
Right? Well, one, they haven't raised any alarms, but 2, nobody else, because all the workers kind of know. No one saw those 2 henchmen going and went, stop. Don't put him down there.
Right.
Like, stop this, But anyway, so they get put in, but at the same time, they are running around with life jackets now going, okay, rich people, come on over here because we're about to get in lifeboats and stuff.
And the rich people still don't believe them, really.
No, they're all like lollygagging. I need to get a sweater and but my cat jingles.
Right.
And they put out the order, women and children first. So that's when you get the whole long montage of like women screaming, holding their baby daddies and blah, blah. Rose ends up on the lifeboat because she is a woman. And as she's being put down, she's kind of like, fuck this shit.
Yeah, I can't leave that man behind.
The world's closing in on her again, and she needs to jump off and go save Jack.
I wouldn't stand up for him before, but now that it's a life or death situation, now I'm going to jump.
So she gets out and she's like, she goes and she finds Mr. Andrews. And he's like, you got to get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? Yeah. And she's like, I'm going to do this with or without you. She gets the instructions to go down below and get Jack. And as she goes down, the water's already rising. So she has to get into this really cold fucking water.
Right.
And go find Jack. She does find him and there's no keys. So then she has to go back up and she's trying to get people to help her, but no one's helping her. And one guy tries to drag her away and he's not even fucking listening. And so she just punches him in the fucking face and he's like, fuck you. And I was like, you know what? I feel like this is a great representation of feminism. Like
just punching in the face. Like, you won't leave me alone. You won't let me go.
listen to me,
You don't listen.
You're not
I'll just
listening. Punch
punch you in the face.
bitch. And then
Yeah.
walk away. So she finds an axe. She goes back. She's like, I got an axe. He's like, all right. He goes, wait. And the water's rising too. It's like up to her waist by this point.
Right.
Like practice shots. And I'm like, do we really have time for practice shots?
And then she hits it, and you're like, we should have had more time for practice shots.
Oh, she hits it one time. He's like, okay, now hit that spot again. And she's way off. And he's like, fuck. And then she's like, let's just do it. Let's just fucking do it. Like,
I don't know how she hit it.
I don't know. That was lucky because
Movie
it wasn't a lot of space. It wasn't like he's like, do it. He's like,
right.
Do it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, fucking, I'm gonna lose a hand.
Yep.
She does it, and he's like, whoa! And I really feel like he was happier she didn't cut off his hand than actually seeing her.
Right.
Like,
I mean, I would be like, too, honestly. I would be like, thank God.
So at this point, they move back up to get out of there. They run in, and this is where you start seeing like they have the gates closed to third class. They're not letting third class go. One area they were willing to open it for women and children, but the men were blocking, so the guy shooting
they
is
said,
done.
oh, well.
Yeah. So they go to a different stairwell, and he's like, go back to the main one. And they're like, open it. And he's like, go back to the main stairwell. And they're like, fuck it, rip up a bench and knock that shit out.
Yeah, but when they knock it out, this made me so irrationally angry. When they knock it out, you know what they do with the bench?
Leave it there.
They leave it in the middle of the thing, so everyone's like monkey crawling over. Why would you do that?
There and get the fuck out.
Throw it behind you. What the
right? Or push it through. Keep going with it until it's out of the way. Selfish. That's what that was. Selfishness. So, and in this, they picked up the Irish guy and Fabrizio again. So now they're back on the team, heading to the lifeboats.
And everyone's freaking out at this point.
Oh yeah,
like,
everyone's
trying to get on the thing.
Yeah.
And my thing about this is like, at some point, one of the other guys at the boats pulls out a gun and he like shoots into the air to get people to like back up. Here's my thing. All they carried were revolvers. You have 6 rounds. You can't shoot all of us.
And no one's thinking that. There's like loud noise. Oh God.
That's what I'm saying. I can't handle crowds that are panicking. Like, you have 6 shots.
And the amount of people. So you're also in this chaos finding out that they're not putting enough people in the lifeboats. And it's just chaos in general, getting lifeboats down and stuff. Like, they don't seem to know what the fuck they're doing. They get Rose on another boat. Okay? Yep. And this happens because the fiance sees her again. Like, he's like, okay, we gotta get out of here. He goes to make a deal. He got on a boat. And the guy was like, I fucking found her. And he's like, fuck. Okay. So he gets off his boat and he goes in, and I'm like, dude, come on.
Why do you care now?
I know. Why do you give a shit? If anything, you're like, okay, she's about to fucking die. What do I care?
Right. No. I got out of the situation. And now nobody has to know this was such a disaster.
I know. And I really, so this is the second time Rose is getting a chance at life, which nobody else on this ship is getting this many chances. Okay. And she's like, I can't go without you, Jack. I can't. He's like, no, just get on the fucking boat. Get on the fucking boat, Rose.
And they even lie and say, like, I'm going with him. Like,
this is where the fiance shows up, and he's like, oh, Rose. And he puts his jacket around Rose, and he's like, I'll save him. I already got a deal with the guy over here. We're going to get on this boat. You get on this boat. We'll meet you. And she's like, okay. And then she's looking up, and the SOS works are happening behind him, you know. And she's looking up, and she just jumps off again. And he's like, God bless it. So he runs to get her. He runs to get her, and this is where he's so stupid. You're so stupid, Rose. And my son was watching this. He was like, well, that's not very nice to say to your person.
Well, there's a lot of nuance that you're missing here, son. I would have also called her very stupid.
I would. So they're kissing. Can't live without you. You're so stupid. I'm sorry. Rich fiance is like, now we gotta fucking kill him. More Scooby-Doo running because now he's trying to shoot them.
Yeah, and he shoots worse than a stormtrooper.
Oh, I know.
You miss every single shot.
I know. So they're running deeper into the flooding now to get away from his shooting. He stops chasing them because he at least does have one brain cell to rub together. But he does realize, he goes, the fucking diamond's in my pocket and my pocket's on her. Fuck. Like, he has that realization. But they go to get on the boats. And when he gets back up, he realizes all the boats are gone. The guy who had made a deal with him is the one who shot the revolver in the air to get everyone to chill the fuck out. And then everyone's like, why? Fuck you. And he goes, he's done. Suicide himself.
Yep. I will say
Chase
there was
jumps in.
one moment that really tugged at my heartstrings. I think it was the only moment in this entire fucking movie that tugged at my heartstrings, when they're getting all of like the third class people on the boat, and there's like a little girl and she's freaking out and her dad is there, and he hands her over and he tells her, this boat is for the mommies and the children's, the daddy's boat is over there, I have to go get on the daddy's boat. And then he watches him like lower down. There's no fucking daddy's boat. I was like,
No.
God damn it.
It's only for a little while. And it wasn't
Yeah,
for a little while.
it wasn't for a little. Jesus
Oh my
Christ.
God. First of all, there's many scenes at this point where you're just about to bawl your eyes out. Like,
Normal people are, yeah.
the old people,
Yeah.
which I found out are a depiction of the people who owned Macy's. The one guy who owned Macy's. His name was Isadora and Ida Strauss. So they chose to stay on the ship and die because she didn't want to leave him. Then you had the mom telling the bedtime story to her children.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
Because they knew they couldn't get out. And I was like,
yep.
Just as a mom, oh God, I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, I don't know what I would
try to
do.
stay calm and know that me and my children were about to die.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do.
I can't save them. Like,
I don't know what I would do.
Don't even put me in that situation. I don't know. But so you see those moments are happening as Jack and Rose are trying to make their way back up out of the water, out of the ship. They have the scene where they find this little boy crying in the hallway. They pick him up because he looks like he's by himself. The father comes running around, takes him. He's speaking.
Stops to pick up a suitcase.
I know, and runs towards the wall that is clearly about to break with water. Like it's coming from all seams. This door is like about to bust, and they're like, "Stop!" But the Turkish guy is like, "Nah, fuck you guys, don't steal my kid." Of course, the water busts through. Jack and Rose are running. Guy and his kid are definitely dead. They're dead.
Mm-hmm.
They get up, but the staircase is locked. Luckily, a guy's running by. They're like, "Let us out," and the guy really was like, ugh. Which I thought was kind of fucked up because I'm like, the water's not even reached you yet. Like,
just throw them the keys.
That, or be like, here and run, or just like you had a couple minutes. You could have just been like, click, and you all could have kept running. The water wasn't like that, like to that point.
Far yet, yeah.
But of course, he's like hesitating, he's shaking, and he drops the keys. The water's rising. He's out of there. Jack gets it last minute. It opens. They're running back up now. More chaos, more montage of chaos.
Yeah. And that's when they get back up there, that's when the boat starts to actually go under the water.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's when, and like people, this is another thing that drives me insane, is like water gets displaced, especially when it's something large. So like if something solid goes into water, the water gets displaced around it and then comes back to cover it again. So you have all of these people that are attempting to stay onto this large barge and just hold on to it, when what you should have done is jumped far as you could and swam as close to those lifeboats and just kept swimming out to those lifeboats as you could get. Just keep swimming to them. That's what you should have done, instead of just like holding on. That's what I'm saying.
That is a way to go. Because I do see the point of like, stay out of the water as long as you can, because you don't have long. You're going to die in that freezing of water. But yes, if you knew you could get to a lifeboat, like, I'm a strong enough swimmer, I could definitely get to that fucking lifeboat. They'll most likely let me on. I'm only one person.
Right. Just, you should have just, instead of like, because eventually when the boat does go all the way down, everybody, like Jack was the only one who told Rose, like, this is gonna pull you. When it pulls you, you just need to go up as hard as you can, go up. But he was the only one in the whole movie that mentioned anything about the direction and how you need to act when you got in the water.
Yeah.
So like any of these other people, like what I just it just doesn't make logical sense to me. And it's so frustrating because I feel like everyone's just so stupid.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's just like what in Men in Black they said it. People are smart, or a person is smart.
It's smart.
People are idiots.
Yeah, people are stupid. And
Like,
it's yeah, so
so
they end up like crawling up the boat, right?
pretty much. So now so you do see the fiance. He finds a little girl crying, and he uses that to get
Yes.
onto the last lifeboat. He's like, I
Right.
know she has, and they're like, fine, fuck it, get on. So
Right.
he gets on, which I've noticed he like immediately hands the little girl off though. He's like,
Yeah, he does.
there you go.
And nobody clocks it at all.
No. So, but Rose and Jack are heading to because the One Piece is now breaking off. So the stern is about to go ass up and then sink down. So they're running to the very end, and she's like, Jack, this is where we met. And I was like, I guess that's a moment. And this is where I find fucked up too. So she looks over, and there's one lady and a baby being like, it's about to be over. Like, yep. I'm like, fuck, dark, bro.
Yeah.
And then she looks over at another blonde lady sitting right next to her, who is just as terrified, just staring. And she's just staring at these women.
Yeah, they're just staring. Like, she's not like, come up over here, because they had like climbed up onto the railing and were like holding on, riding it down.
That's where my thought was. I was like, okay, so this thing's going over. They look over. So Jack notices what's happening. He's like, okay, you climb over now, right?
Right.
You climb over. They look over. The cook is over. He's doing the same thing. But they just then stare these women in the eye.
Just watch this lady fall.
Oh, yeah. Just staring her down like, oh, are you going to do this too? Like, no attention. Be like, give me your hand. Give me your hand.
Or be like, hey, idiot, get over here.
Nothing. So, ship is now going down. Shit's breaking. Fabrizio dies. He got in the water and a bow pipe thing fell on him. Now everybody's officially in the water. It's chaos in the water. Rose almost drowns because the guy's like sitting on her head.
Yeah, which is weird. Why do you grab another person?
I know.
Why is that your first thought?
Like, fucked up, dude. Like, so Jack punches that guy multiple times to get him off.
Right.
Then they're floating. He brings her over to a door. Of course, this is where the big debate comes from. He could have fit on the door. They could have, rotated.
Right.
And yes. But I'm also like, Jack should have said something, Like,
right,
my turn. He wanted to be the martyr in that situation and be like, I have to save the love of my life. So I'm just going to sit in the water now.
You ain't doing that.
Right?
No.
Then they go show over to lifeboats, how lifeboats are like, we have to wait because they'll
overrun us.
Yeah, they'll overrun us. They show Molly Brown being like, don't be fucking cowards, and then being like, sit your ass down or I'll throw you over, and her being like, fair enough. Then they showed the boats being tied together, and he's like, you women, get over there, we're gonna go back over. And I love how they make it seem like it's happening like pretty succinctly, like,
but it's not.
But it's not.
Yeah.
Because clearly these people are like, when the scene starts, everyone's screaming and you can hear their screaming. And then Rose goes, it's getting quiet. Like, because everyone's just slowly dying. Right. So by the time they get back over there, the guy who had been blowing his whistle is now not blowing his whistle. The guy's like, poke the bodies. They're all dead. They show the woman holding her baby.
Yeah, I don't know why they
really just want to
have to do that.
Like,
you didn't have to do that.
So Rose is singing a song. She's barely moving. This is where she realized, oh, Jack's dead.
Which I don't understand. You're holding his hand the whole time. I get that you're cold, but you didn't.
Why wouldn't you be talking to him?
Yeah, you didn't notice.
Nobody would sit there.
Some love story.
Nobody know. Okay, and I can't even say that you did know because Jack explained how cold water can kill you instantly and stuff in the beginning of the movie. So you did know he was dying because of the cold fucking water. No part of you was like, Jack, stay awake. Keep talking to me. Sing with me. Right. Like no part of her was save Jack. This is how selfish she is. She only thought about, but am I okay? Like, and he even does this long death speech of like, you gotta live for me, Rose. And no part of her was like, don't talk like that. Like, however, has the don't talk like that moment. She's just like, okay, Jack.
Like, oh, you're right. I do have to live for you, gonna
like,
die.
oh, you're gonna die for me. I'm gonna be the best woman I can be for you. Okay,
Ew.
bye. Like,
Gross.
right. So Jack's of course dead. The lifeboat's coming. It's actually going by her at this point, so she has to be like, get up, and she swims over
She
to the guy with
swims
the
over,
whistle,
yeah.
starts blowing the whistle. Then they show it's the montage now of the survivors getting on the ship. They show the fiance kind of looking around, seeing if he can find her, then leaving. Like, she hides from him. She's like, oh.
Yeah, she's like, don't talk to me.
Yeah. And
Please
then you
don't
hear
talk to
her,
me.
she talks about how she kind of sounds like mother did have to become a seamstress, something like that. Hoxley got his millions. The fiance did get his millions, but squandered it and killed himself in the Great Depression. She went over a couple others. And then, okay, so now she's old again. We're officially there. They give Twister guy the cheesiest speech to be like, I never looked at it. I never saw it. I see it now. I feel it. I've wasted my years. Like, and then this bitch goes to die and throws the diamond
Throws it
in
into
the ocean.
You couldn't even tell them, like, you couldn't even be like, hey, yo, I think you should look in the ocean floor again. Like, you couldn't even, like,
Nothing,
no kind of hint.
no, nothing. But honestly, what a dick move anyways, because why not? Even if you were going to go back and be like, oh, my spirit's going to go be with Jack because I'm definitely dying tonight. You couldn't leave that with a note being like, you're welcome. I mean, like,
Yeah, this man is
left it.
This is his whole, like, that's his whole career.
You came up there to listen to him tell you about this, to help him find it. You just wanted to talk about yourself for an hour and then go die, apparently. Like,
and leave your granddaughter with a million years of trauma of being like, shit, I didn't know my grandma at all.
Right. But I do love how they snuck in a little love story between her and the scientist guy. Like, you could tell.
Yeah, like a little boop boop.
Can you tell they fell in love in that couple of hours they were talking to her?
Because that's how it works, apparently, in the director's world.
As soon as you see
like,
things, you get a little bump on the shoulder. You're like, oh, that's love. It's love. We're getting married.
Weird.
So yeah, and then the music strikes, and that's fucking Titanic. And so now on Shit's True, after all that, a 3-hour movie, we're gonna go over how close to reality it is. And luckily for us, yes, Rose and Jack, like I said, completely fabricated. Their whole drama, not at all. But actually, what was happening in the background was actually very close. He kept it pretty close to what the fuck happened and how grand this was. Like I said, even when he was showing like third class and stuff, that's exactly, they'd be doing life checks and stuff. He really kept the background very historically accurate. So I'm not gonna go step by step, because literally watch the movie. That's what happened that night. He kept it very, that's what happened.
Right.
But I will go over some of the characters and where the movie is kind of wrong, like historically not totally correct. So when they show Ishmael telling Smith to go faster, that's not something that happened. So Ishmael, when he first, like I said, when he first wanted to make this, it was the White Star and the Goudas. They had the ships. The Goudas had the fastest ships. So White Star said, we're gonna have the grandest ships. Titanic was never built to be fast. So that wasn't an interest of theirs. They weren't trying to get to New York the fastest. They were trying to get the richest. So he didn't have that conversation. Smith also, which is really sad, this was supposed to be his last hurrah before retirement. And they did mention that in the movie.
Yeah, they did.
It was supposed to be his retirement set sail.
Yikes.
So that's where he was actually, while he did get demonized in because America and England did investigations into this. Like, this was the 9/11 of its time, almost, not terrorist wise, but like both countries are very much like, we cannot forget this. Not only because like we lost a lot of lives in this, and you need to know why, where did it go wrong? We lost a lot of very rich lives in this accident. So that made people at the time very like, what the fuck happened? Like, those people can't die, you know? So he got scrutinized really hard for how fast he was going, even though he was getting warnings that icebergs were around. But they did later find in the courts and through testimonies, because a lot of captains did come forward and go, we'd all do that speed. That speed, yes, fast, safe. Any captain would have done that speed.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually a lot of little things that just kind of screwed the Titanic in general. One of those things was how calm the water was. They talked about in the movie how calm it was. So you're not going to see the water splash up on the icebergs.
Oh, that
They
makes sense.
lost the binoculars. They really did lose those bitches and send those guys up there with nothing. They also did not add a light to the Titanic. That was apparently nobody's idea. They also, so here's something they did not add in the movie. So the mailroom guys had the little and that's how they sent messages, right?
Morse code. Yeah.
Yes, Morse code. Their main job though was to get all these rich people's messages out, and so they were always busy just doing shit messages.
Oh, okay. So like doing like their business while they're on this trip. Okay.
Yeah, so he is getting the iceberg warnings and he's sending them up, but in that same stuff, he's also having to send out like Guggenheim stuff, and he's very busy. So the California was out there. Yeah, it was the California was out there, and they sent out the last one where they were like, hey, we're actually surrounded by icebergs. Like, you guys need to be careful. But it said, or it was testified, that that Morse code guy said it so relaxed, like he didn't put it in serious tone of like icebergs surrounding. It was kind of like, hey bro, what's up? How's your dinner? Oh, by the way, we're surrounded by icebergs, you know?
Right.
So Titanic's guy actually said, shut up, stop bothering me, and I'm busy, because he didn't realize the message was a serious message. He thought this guy was just fucking talking to talk.
Right.
Causing the California guy to go, well, I guess I'm going to bed. Bloop. Took off his headphones. So they never, even though they were the closest ship, they were about 10 knots away, they never got the message. They didn't get the SOS.
You're telling me that they didn't have people, they didn't have a rotation of people on there 24/7?
Apparently not. So this is where the California's captain gets in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, what kind of slapshot operation is that?
Oh yeah. So it was also said that, because witnesses from the Titanic said they saw a ship. They saw a ship.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones who actually responded, the Mauritania and the one with the C, they did respond, but they were further away. They were like, it's going to take like 2 hours to get to you. And they were like, we'd be sunk by then. So they were on their way, but they were way too far. But they wouldn't have been the ship that they saw. So people were like, the California was close enough for them to see, and still ignored them. So they would have saw the fireworks and stuff going off.
Yeah, you didn't see anything like crazy. Like,
well, that's what the California's captain and stuff was like. We didn't fucking see. I saw a ship, but there's no way it was the Titanic. It wasn't big enough. So that's when like current create. I was watching. That's the documentary I was watching through the Smithsonian. They went and looked at the weather patterns and stuff, and they found that on that night there was also a little fog happening. And you know, have you ever stood on the beach and looked out and the ships look really distorted? Usually we're in summertime, so it's the heat causing a mirage, but the cold can have the same effect. So it would have made the Titanic look like a smush ship, you know?
Oh, so it wouldn't look as like big.
Yeah, he would have looked like a cargo ship to the California, causing the California captain to be like, well, that's not the Titanic. Like, we're not close enough. And then also they just didn't get the memo because their dude went to bed when he was told to shut the fuck up.
Right.
So also they found, like they said, the 4 compartments were the reason that they said the Titanic was unsinkable and it was a great idea. But because the guy turned the boat instead of just hitting head on, doomed them, completely fucking doomed them. And because he also, instead of just saying just turn, he made the Titanic reverse and turn, causing it to do it a lot slower than it would normally do it. So it was just like a series of unfortunate events. Like, this shit was gonna happen, honestly. Like, if you were Final Destination, you can kind of pick out and be like, oh yeah,
the chain of events. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's totally gonna happen. Like,
yikes.
There's a lot of fuckery that happened there. But I know, like, my son was like, mommy, could that happen today? or what would happen today if this happened, I'd be like, the same fucking thing. Like, there's no technology that would have helped them any.
Right. I mean, today
Rescue
we
was too
probably
far.
today we probably would have had like more advanced like life-saving measures, like more
That's
advanced
true.
lifeboats and like more advanced like signals to send. We wouldn't
I'd
just
say
be
that
sending, you know?
I feel like the only thing these days is we probably do have headlights now.
Yeah, I
But
hope.
other
Jesus.
than that, it's still the same thing. Can you get on the lifeboats if they're there? Oh yes, and that was another thing with the lifeboats. So
Mhm.
they opted to not test them. They were like, we got to get on the fucking road, so don't even worry about testing them. So that's why, like in the movie, when they look like they don't know what the fuck they're doing, they didn't know
Yeah.
what the fuck they were doing. They
Well,
didn't
that
even
wouldn't happen
testing them.
today.
Yeah,
That wouldn't happen
absolutely.
today. We would know how to use the fucking I think with the safety measures that we have in place today and like the order of operations that we have because of things like that, I think it would go very differently. It probably could go down the same way, but
Yeah.
I don't think as many people would die.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do think that would be, but so my son was like, women and children, does that still stand? And I was like, honestly, no, it'd be every man for himself, which I think would cause more chaos. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it would be yeah, it would be a chaotic mess. Like I have hope in humanity, but I feel like if at that point in time it's just going to be pure
oh yeah,
chaos.
you're
Like you're going
still
to
gonna
have
have to
people
worry
just
about,
being thrown into boats and
oh,
shit. Like
absolutely. Or just pushed off the ship
yeah, just pushed
just because
off.
you're trying to
Whether
even get to a
right on
lifeboat.
accident.
Yeah. Uh mhm. So yeah, that's pretty much the history of it. Oh, I did. So, like I was telling you, the people who own Macy's,
Right.
the Strausses,
Yep.
this is totally where he got his idea for Rose and Jack. Like, because she even said the the whole "you go, I where you go, I go." Mrs. Strauss said that to Mr. Strauss when
Oh
he was trying to force her
man.
onto a lifeboat, and she was like, "No, where you go, I go." And they got off. Now they didn't go in their bed like the movie showed. They stayed on
Right.
deck, and people just saw them sitting in deck chairs, and they were last seen being swept out. I think his body was found. Her body was never found. And this is where I do find it kind of fucked up, and where I'm like, you better leave my body where it was,
Right.
because they took him to go bury him back in England. But then I'm like, but they wanted to stay together so much so
Right.
they died together.
Right.
You could have left him out to sea, you know?
Right. Like that's a
It
proper
just feels more
burial.
like she's gone now. He's not at rest with her, you know?
Right.
Molly Brown, we were talking about this earlier.
Oh
So
yeah.
I distinctly remember learning that Molly Brown was a 12-year-old girl who took over her lifeboat to go save others.
Right.
Apparently, I'm glad I re-looked it up and didn't just go with that, because apparently Molly Brown was very much an adult, a philanthropist, an actress. She was getting it. And she took over her lifeboat to go get the others, and also acted as a translator, because this liner was also acting as for people to come over to America through New York.
Right.
So there was a lot of different languages happening, and she acted as she knew multiple languages and
Good
acted
for
as a
her.
translator. Right? She was getting it. So I was like, oh, the cook was also a very real character.
Oh,
The man on the back of the ship, that happened. He was just a cook, and he just knew to stay out as long as he could. He survived it. Molly
good for
Brown
him.
survived it. The Strausses did not survive it. The guy who shot himself, apparently that's actually a debated uh, incident. It's
Mm.
definitely said that he definitely shot at people when they started getting too rowdy, but it's debated on whether he killed himself or not. And when this movie came out, his family tried to sue James Cameron and wanted an apology for dirtying his name. But I'm like,
Nobody even knows his name.
right, it's
Like,
been
what are you
over
talking
100
about?
years.
That's like the Streisand effect.
Right.
We wouldn't have known his name. We wouldn't have known who he was just from the movie. You're the only ones that know who he is.
Yeah.
Calm,
And I'm
calm
like,
down.
how removed are you from this dude? Like, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
Anderson was apparently very close to his portrayal. Andrews, not Anderson.
I
But
knew who
it
you were
was
talking
really
about.
sad. He apparently did leave behind a wife and two children. And I was like, oh, but he never tried to save himself, just like in the movie. Same with Smith. He went down with the ship in dignity. He was last seen on the bridge. just like he did in the movie, which I always found sad that like that was supposed to be his last. Like, I'm gonna retire and go relax now.
Right. Well, but that if he had gotten on a ship and he would have made it out alive, it would have been a nightmare for him and his
Oh
family. I
yeah.
mean, I know it was already a nightmare kind of for his family, but it would have been 20 times worse had he
Oh yeah.
actually lived and been like the
He had to
media
go down with the
circus.
ship. He had to.
Yeah, there was no option.
Ishmay was villainized because he jumped on the lifeboats before the whole women and children thing was done.
Yep.
So
Yep.
he was seen as a fucking coward for like the rest of his life. So
Yeah.
he survived, but he was dragged for surviving.
Yeah.
There was another famous dude who was also but yeah, I gotta say, James Cameron actually did a pretty good job on this one.
It was okay.
I'm mad that Avatar beat it out. Like,
Don't even get me started on Avatar. Don't even get me started on it. I know that I'm gonna end up watching the newest one. I'm gonna end up watching it by myself. B is not gonna watch it.
I don't want to watch it.
He's absolutely not gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end up watching it just to see how bad it is, and then I'm gonna have to watch the first one because I'm gonna be like, who are you people? Who is this? Like,
It's
I
such a
remember
boring movie.
watching.
It's so fucking boring.
I remember watching the first one and being like, okay, I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty, but the whole time I was just like, why did you shape their bodies like that? Like, why did you make the decisions that you made?
Right.
And I know, like, especially, and I'm sure eventually you might have people commenting on this and being like, "Oh, he's a great director, he's an amazing writer, whatever." But
Oh,
I don't enjoy that kind of media. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
I do gotta say, will I give him good director? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
he's
I'd
a good
call him a good
director.
director.
Yeah.
Even if we are just talking Titanic, like I said,
Yeah, it
the
was
music
beautifully shot.
composition,
Yeah.
it was definitely gorgeously shot.
Right.
And he goes all out. Like, he
Right.
built a fucking Titanic to sink for his
Right.
actors were actually in water. I always appreciate when they have to go through that real stuff. It's not all CGI.
Right.
He makes beautiful movies. Even Avatar, so fucking boring. It's not a good storyline.
Right.
It's not well
pretty.
written, but it's pretty.
Right.
So that's all we can really give him. He makes gorgeous sets, and he does place his people very well in those sets. But no, whoever writes for him, fire them. Because I think even Rose,
Rose makes me so angry, and that makes me even more angry because I love Kate Winslet. She's gorgeous. She's a great actress. Like, she seems like a fun person to just like be friends with and stuff. And so, like, her and Rose, I'm just like, who is that?
Yeah, she played her well.
She did. She did the best she could with what she had to work
Rose
with. But
I just a likable character. Even when you rewatch it, I have no sympathy for Rose at all. I come out of that really feeling for Jack.
Yeah,
all around.
But also thinking about how big of an idiot Jack is. Like, you're throwing, like, Jesus Christ, dude.
But he definitely shadowed that for himself anyways. Because he already said he's the kind of guy who just wakes up in the morning and just fucking goes. Just gonna go for. He clearly never thinks about much longer than that moment. And that's why he sleeps in bridges, you know?
Yeah, that's why you sleep under bridges, dumbass.
Yeah.
Like, hello?
The only reason they can even romanticize their situation is because he died. If they had lasted, if they had survived,
oh, dog.
First weekend, she'd be over it. She'd be done.
I'm done. I'm tired.
Like,
I'm tired. Like, I know in the movie she like made shit out of herself. Like, she was like,
but I do gotta say,
she was on horses and shit.
Go be an actress and stuff, but she also married another man, and they don't make it sound like that man's poor. She got to do things. So I think she married into money anyways, at least somewhat, which helped her do all these things to be braver or whatever.
Justice for Jack. He didn't have to die.
Honestly, justice. I want justice.
He didn't have to die. Justice for Jack. He didn't have to die.
Yeah.
All right.
For her. But yeah, so that's it. I give this movie, I still give it an 8 out of 10. It's a really
give it an 8 out of 10.
I give it an 8 out of 10. It's a good movie, and he kept it historical. If you really like historical things, the things you could pick out in the background of this movie, lovely.
All
It's
right,
very
7.5. I'll give it that's as far as I'm willing to go.
good.
7 and I gave Morbius a 6 or something. 7.5.
I
That's
give
it.
Morbius like a 2.
That's all. That's all I'm willing to give. No, I didn't give it a 6. I gave it closer, maybe I don't know. I'd have to ask B. I can't remember what I rate movies, but
It wasn't good.
not good.
Mm-mm.
No, no,
We
hated
gotta
it.
stay
I
focused.
will never watch this movie again.
The Titanic, yeah, it'll probably be
Never.
decades more before I watch this movie again. So
All right, dude,
that's it,
we're
my
out.
lovelies. We
Yeah,
are out.
we're out.
Thanks for being with us. I hope this edit's good.
It's gonna be great.
Bye.
Bye.